First meeting of the Administrative Services Committee together. Please turn off or silence your cell phones. First item on the agenda, the committee will review the Town of Holden's fireworks ordinance. It's in your packet. I hope you all had a chance to read it.
I did actually. Councilor Nuttall cannot be here tonight, but he sent me an email. Just wanted to let the committee know that where he is on this committee, that he is in support of the fireworks ordinance that we have in front of us. He said probably with some revisions. So I told him I'd let you guys know that. So the only so Bill, thank you for getting this to us, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing in just trying to, I know there's been a lot of discussion over this the last couple of years, and basically, Steve went in on the state website and did a bunch of research on this, and we've talked about it. I've talked to Don about it. We've tried to find something to kind of hit some of the issues that the council discussed, which some of it was, related to time, and this was just one of the ordinances that seemed to kind of fit some of those issues that you talked about. I know there was some discussion that didn't want to totally get rid of fireworks, and this kind of regulates it. And we can certainly, as we go down through this, if your decision is that's what you want to do, we can certainly tweak this however you want to have this work.
So if I'm reading this right, on the second page, 601, that basically is explaining what the state laws are.
Yes.
Okay, and then 602 is stipulating what the Town of Holden's laws are. One for summer, different hours for summer, and different hours for winter.
Correct. Yep.
And if I looked at it real quick, it looked to me like basically during the week, the hours are less. During the summer, it's Sunday through Thursday, noon till 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays, they revert back to the state of Maine hours from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. During the winter, it looks like the hours are Sunday through Thursday, noon till 8 p.m. And then Friday and Saturday, they revert back to the state of Maine hours 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yep.
So I was discussing before we started that, it's still, I like to see it 9 p.m. the whole time, but Councilor May and Councilor Roach told me that during the summer it doesn't really get dark till after 9, even though I go to bed before that. But they say it doesn't really get dark till after that. So I can understand the Friday and Saturday doing that, but I think during the week it should be what they have here. Mm-hmm. My opinion, anyways. I think this is what Bill said. This is definitely heading in the right direction for something for us to consider. Councilor Storman had called me earlier today because he's against having really any limits on fireworks, but he actually is the one that called me tonight and said that he believes there are 1 or 2 businesses that are fireworks businesses that are in the town of Holden. One for sure. He thought there might be a second one.
3, I believe.
3, and this is working for them. So it sounds like at least this is in the right direction.
And the business here closed, right?
Yes,
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There's 2 things that I'd like to put out as some thought on this.
Yep.
One of them is, I'd really like to see a distance from a dwelling put in there, so that perhaps we don't shoot them off in the middle of 5th Street or 4th Street, where houses are 20 feet apart. And the other one is, I don't know why or how much it would inconvenience people if you didn't allow fireworks from Sunday till Thursday, inclusive, and not have them at all during the week, so that people could relax and not worry about them shooting off during the week, but just have a chance to operate them on Friday and Saturday night.
Right.
I don't know how the rest of you feel about that, but that's the 2 thoughts that I had.
I like them both, actually.
I would say with exception, because
There's going to be certain, like
The
the holidays, River
Yes,
Fest, or July.
absolutely,
Yeah.
with the exception of
Yeah.
4th of July and
or
New
you
Year's
could
Eve.
have an allowed exception to the event that you don't even know about.
Right.
Yeah.
Something comes up. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea. We did get an email. I don't know if it was the whole council or just the committee got an email from a resident
I
from
received it.
from the lake, I believe. She lives
Yes.
in Lake, yes. And I could tell that she was in favor of something to be done. And I think, Bill, you had mentioned, maybe it was just to me earlier, that one of these things is it's really good about the fire danger periods, which would mean that people that set these off would actually have to check to make
Yes.
sure there's no fire danger.
Correct.
So they would call the fire department?
Yep.
On that day if they're gonna do it that night?
Yep.
Or drive by the fire station.
Oh, right, and then see, up.
They
Okay.
post it out there in front every day.
So when you say the dwelling, you're saying so many feet, so if houses are 20 feet apart, that's what you're saying, basically? You don't want them to be able to do that?
Well, the city attorney probably could help us on the wording, but I was thinking of something about within 100 feet of a neighboring dwelling, or neighboring building, for that matter. I mean, you know, if I'm out to the lake and I got wooden shingles on my garage, I really don't want somebody shooting off
Right.
right beside it. And I just thought 100 feet, I don't know if that's far enough, but by the same token, it would take care of a lot of the situations.
Is there anything?
I suspect lots out at the lake are 100 feet probably of frontage, you know, so that's, if you do in the middle, can you not do it because somebody's within 50 feet of you on each side, or?
Right. Is there anything in here about that? There wasn't?
Nothing, no. No, so I don't know if 100 feet's too much, if 50 feet's enough. That's why I opened it for discussion.
That's, I'm wondering too, if we start micromanaging and limit that as far as who can do it, who cannot do it, and are we getting to the point where there's only certain areas of the city that people can do it because of the distance?
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
Especially French Island.
Yep.
I do like your suggestion about the Sunday through Thursday, unless there's an event, you know, type of thing. I'm not having them. And then have them on those late hours on Friday and Saturday, up till the 10 o'clock. Basically go by the state law at that point.
Chief, how would you feel about the distance between dwellings?
Right, I think that would be helpful in the congested areas, the urban areas here. I think that would be helpful, and it makes sense. It's kind of, there are state guidelines on that. I apologize, I don't have the state law with me right now, though. There are some distance requirements there, but I'm not sure it fit what we were looking for, though.
So when it reverts back to, but if it reverts back to the state on 601, if we go Friday and Saturday nights, it reverts back to the state policy. Would that revert back to the state as far as the distance too?
Right, if that's the
The
way
whole-
you wrote it, the whole thing
that'd be
would
the whole
apply.
thing.
Right, yep,
So I guess we got to kind of find out what that is.
yeah, yeah.
Chief O'Malley, you read this? You're all set with it?
They're the ones that found it for us.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice job.
There's a lot of them on there. You know, this was more in the reason I pulled this one out is more in the parameters of what you people were talking about originally, that's all.
Yep.
Basically. And the fire danger is not to be underemphasized either. The class 3 and 4 days, we wouldn't allow a burn permit. Also with a sign and driving by or calling, you also go on the state of Maine website. If you can't get a burn permit, you couldn't get a fireworks permit.
Well, and it's funny because that what you're saying that because that's what that email said to us. That was basically the resident was saying, if you got to get a fire permit, why don't you have to get a fireworks permit?
That will take care of the high danger days. And also the aerial devices are illegal in Maine, a lot of the aerial devices, most of the aerial devices. And so the proximity isn't that critical because they're not supposed to be aerial devices.
Can you define aerial devices for us?
That's difficult. That is and the law is not specific on that, okay? You know what they are. You know, fire marshals, they come up to you and they can tell you exactly what a aerial device, what they consider an aerial device, but it doesn't list them all, okay? You know, like brands and everything like that. So it's a little confusing to me. We haven't had an issue that way. I think what we've had an issue with is mostly the noise and the fact that we could have an incident with proximity with fire and things like that on a class 3 or 4 day.
Right.
So,
Would you say that a bottle rocket is an aerial device?
yep. I believe there's a limit, again, not like Chief O'Halloran said, I didn't bring the actual law with me. It's 3 pages. You know, it's pretty restrictive, you know, on what they can do. Your age limit, 21, you know, and there's a lot of other things that are covered. I think that's why a lot of these laws revert back to the state, so they don't rewrite the state law, except for they take a couple of instances where they're trying to take away the nuisance.
Right.
And that's what, you know, the communities, that's what I perceive some of the communities doing. And a lot of the communities, you know, there's over 20 that have planned them outright. And we spoke about not doing that, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, like I said, for me anyways, I like the reduction of the hours. Sunday through Thursday, I could go either way. I like it, but I could go either way on that. So it sounds like we gotta find out what the state distance is.
Yep.
At least, and then see, 'cause I do agree with Stan that it, you know, I don't know if 100's the number or 50's the number, but there are some houses that are pretty close together. That could take care of that.
State distance and also some sort of a definition on area,
Yep.
what that is. And I think that we should include, no fireworks from Sunday to Thursday.
I'm good either way.
Anything else on that?
So bring this back in November, committee meeting, Bill?
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So that we can get that information.
Second thing on our agenda, the council will discuss adding a conflict of interest section to the council's rules and procedures.
So I actually had Bill add this, but Council McLeod is not here tonight, and she was going to be the one that was gonna bring this topic up. But I still had Bill add it to the agenda, just so we'll talk about it in November, but just so the council wasn't blindsided. And I know she has already talked to Councilor Smart about this and stuff, and I believe Councilor Smart wants to wait also till,
I do. I
November.
think just because she has talked to me about it, but she hasn't really talked to the counselors,
right.
the other ones, just to hear what she has to say.
Yep, and I think also during this discussion, we'll talk about even with employees, like ex-employees that are not with the city any longer, maybe putting a term, not a term limit, but a limit on when they can get on the council type of thing. I think
Yep.
we can talk about that also.
Yep.
So if you're okay, we'll just table it till
I'm fine with
November.
that. I need a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Seconded?
Me.
All in favor? We're adjourned.
Next, Carol. Okay.
Yep.
I'll call the October 16 meeting of the Public Services Committee to order. We have one item on our agenda, and that's dangerous buildings at 614 Main Street.
David couldn't be here tonight, but he just wanted to let the committee and the council know that he's still working on this, and he's actually made contact with a person. For Nation Star is the name of the company at this time that's holding this. He's taken all the pictures that they've compiled over time with this, sent it to him, made the request that that this thing needs to be demolished by them. He's asked to get a response from her, the lady that he's talking to, early next week. If not, then his plan is to bring this back to the council and take it down as a dangerous building, which again, they'll be notified on that, and it'll come back. They would have to come here to defend that before the council, but we've done that before here, and so I just wanted to make sure that you folks are in the loop, but that could be coming up here sooner than later.
And the fear is always that it changes hands.
Right.
So
Well,
like,
right now, we've got this.
you've got the
we've got
person, but
this
if we
entity,
don't,
So
right.
that's why he's moving forward so rapidly with this, because, you know, we actually have a person and a company to deal with, so this could come back quickly to you.
Fairly
unless-
quickly.
Yeah.
And he set a deadline, and that he needs to hear from them by such and such,
Right.
or it
Yep.
comes down.
Yep.
Good.
If we
Oh,
take it
okay.
down by such and such a deadline, do we bill them for it?
We can assess them for the cost of the building. And what ends up happening with that, if they didn't pay anything on that, again, that would go on to on the tax acquired lists if they didn't pay that fee, and
We'd have
we
a
could,
problem.
right,
Yeah.
we could sell it and
Well.
recoup
Okay.
the cost for it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
It is a mess.
So that will be coming back quickly.
Great. Okay, that's all we have on our agenda. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? None opposed. Economic Development. That's Council Novel too.
Yeah, okay, that's John's committee. I'll just run this one. So it's Councilor Roach, Peterson, and myself. I call the October 16, 2014 Economic Development Committee meeting to order. The first item is a transfer station CDD landfill. You want to introduce who we,
Yep, Travis Noyes from CES is here.
okay? He's going to give us an overview of the
You
transfer
can stand or
station.
sit, either one.
I'd like to sit, but no, I'll do this. I've got a handout for you folks tonight. John, have you shared this information? Cost estimate with folks?
Yeah.
Okay. This, share a packet of information. It basically has the cost estimate that was shared. And it also has a plan along with it.
Okay,
That is the basis of the cost estimate,
okay.
just so you guys all can see.
Here, Tony.
Sure.
Copy this stuff.
You can sit at the table if you want. There's a microphone right there.
Yeah, let's try that.
Is this a copy of what's over there?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I brought some along, not knowing how to present, but if you guys are okay with what I've given you, we'll go from here. This is a follow-up from the last time we were here. Dennis St. Peter from CES was here a month or so ago to talk a little bit about potential opportunities for the landfill and where there may be some opportunities to, thank you, where there may be some opportunities to look at early closure and some opportunities with some cost sharing with the state of Maine. So as I understand it, Dennis presented some information along with John last time. And at that point in time, we had been tasked with going away and estimating costs so that the council had an opportunity to understand what the costs were. So what this plan represents here, if you look at the bold dashed line, that's essentially your permitted solid waste boundary. So what we've done working with John and coming up with an idea of how you're going to continue to maintain, let's say, filling and grading that area, we projected out the filling of that landfill to get an idea of what volume of waste is required to fill that out so that you'd be in a position to close it out. And what we've estimated here, this is a survey that was done from a survey done in 2010. There has been a little bit of fill brought in since then, a little bit of waste. Today we're out getting updated survey information, so we're going to update this information pretty soon. But essentially what that shows you is that you have somewhere in the order of 18,000 yards of material that's needed to close out, or at least to bring that to a place where you can close that out, as we've shown in that plan there. So what we've presented here, two cost estimates. We've looked at the 18,000 yards of fill required to, or waste required to close out, and then we also targeted a 20,000 yard volume as well. This area right here, if you fill that out with waste, that would essentially give you the 20,000 yards.
Okay.
You'll see the two estimates. Estimate one looks at closing this out. Estimate two looks at filling and closing out that. So just to give you some kind of an idea. So when we compiled our estimate, we looked at recent pricing from projects that we've done fairly locally and also regionally, and then we also looked and met with some folks from Sargent just to go over pricing, to confirm pricing, to see if it seemed right, because what we'd like to do is to be able to set you up to succeed. So by giving you estimated budgets that you can work with, it gives you an idea really where you need to be. So from this, you can see that we've estimated costs to close out either scenario one or scenario two, essentially in the $350,000 to $400,000 range. These costs that we've presented include engineering and contingencies as well. Obviously, when you budget for projects, you want to maintain some level of contingency. Another factor that we've talked a little bit about, and I don't know how much Dennis has talked to you all about, is the revenue opportunities. There's some revenue opportunities. We've listed some revenue opportunities, if you see in the footnotes of the estimates. What we've done is looking at sort of market rates. Now, these are non-negotiated rates, but they're market rates for tipping fees that we've seen and you could realize. So essentially, the waste that you would have brought in, you could potentially realize $40 a ton for that material. So if you look at it from the perspective of, now $40 a ton, we equate to about $20 a yard. So if you look at the 20,000 yards of material that you want to look at, let's say needing to fill in to close out, you could generate revenue in the order of $350,000 to $400,000. The other important point is that there is a potential here for the DEP to contribute some funding because you've been on corrective actions for water quality parameters and things of that nature. There's an opportunity to get some cost share there. We've worked with communities. We actually helped write the legislation for this to help communities that are struggling to come up with the money and the finances to be able to help close CDD landfills that have issues. So we have that experience, and we have the ability to help you moving forward if you'd like. I think Dennis might have talked a little bit about design build and some of the things we've done recently with these closures. The money runs out here in end of 2015, so depending upon how fast you want to approach this and how you want to approach it, we have recently done design build projects. We have a very successful model recently with Sargent in the county where we did a very fast track design build to realize some of those dollars. So that potential is there as well.
So this is the dollar amount before, if there's potential to get money from DEP, like you said.
Yes.
And that money runs out in 2015.
Yes.
So this dollar amount is before any of that, the total, the 350 to 400,000.
Yes. Yeah, that's gross dollars.
What's the looking at this project? Do you have some idea of what we might get from DEP?
The potential is 75% reimbursement. So the tricky part is getting them to commit to that. Really it is ultimately it really is working with them to get them committed to the project. And I don't know how much Dennis has talked to you about any of that, but given the fact that he helped, Dennis St. Peter, our president who was here, he helped write the legislation and was very involved with that process. He's got very good relationships with the folks at the DEP. I think if anybody in the state could help you do that, he'd be the right guy to help push that along.
And I think he did stress that. He said that so many words, and he did stress the timing of this. If we're going to do this, we need to push forward now.
Yeah.
To try to get that money from DEP. If not, we're going to be on for all of it. So, what would it cost going forward from here as far as you doing? Would you say to do a not a study, but you mentioned about the next step in this process?
Well, the next step in the process, I mean, there's several next steps, but I think the process moving forward would be for the city to determine what level of project they want to take on. I mean, do you really want to move ahead with trying to realize revenue opportunities here and close this landfill out? Because you do have an asset. I know landfills are looked at oftentimes as liabilities, but to some extent you have an asset here. You have the ability to accept waste and generate revenue. So there could be an opportunity here to generate revenue and move forward and get the 75% cost share. So it's sort of a double benefit to the community at this point in time. So in order to move forward heading down that road, you would have to, I guess from our perspective, we'd like to know more or less where you want to head with do you want to go on a design, bid, build process? Do you want to entertain a design, bid type of process? And then really start engaging the DEP in the conversation so that they are, brought up to speed with your plans and what you want to accomplish. So essentially, you've got to get them committed to sign off on the fact that your project will qualify and this is what they're going to commit to. So,
Right.
so there's additional engineering work, additional work that we'd have to do to help you out to head in that direction.
I guess that was
Yeah.
that was really my question. What's it going to cost us from here to try to fact find that out to see if DEP would give us that to 75% reimbursement? And what's it going to cost us going forward?
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell you right now without putting a little more thought into it. It's obviously it's a percentage of the numbers I've given you here for engineering costs.
Right.
We'd have to sit down and think that out, and maybe we could work with John, the city manager, to come up with some level of service that, we could give you sort of a plan that we would see moving forward, give you some costs associated with that, and then start attacking it from that perspective. Because there are definite benefits on the design build, but you also, there's also, the design bid build, there's also some benefits there as well. So I think you ought to at least do the due diligence on your end to be comfortable enough with the path that you take moving forward to know really, what it is that you're getting yourself involved with. But I think at least this information should help you at least start
Absolutely.
understanding numbers, costs, and what your potential liabilities could be.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely gives us more accurate numbers from the last meeting, which is perfect. And then I think you're right, we just got to make a decision what we think, direction we want to head in.
Is it a non-issue to find enough stuff to put in there to fill it in time to meet the deadlines and stuff?
Good question.
There is a market out there. There are people, there are vendors, there are people that are looking for places to get rid of their waste. I know John may have had some conversations.
Good evening. I have in fact had some conversations, and I've entertained one offer at this point. From a timing standpoint, the volumes that we're talking about, volumes of the tonnages, it's still achievable. Based on a design build project, we estimated that would probably have to be the end of August to have the volume. Going into the winter time, though, essentially the volume starts to drop off. It's a lot heavier in the warmer months. So we could start now and essentially get all that tonnage by the end of August in time for
Wow.
closure and so forth.
So you
So-
did it on a design build, not a design bid build, that's what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I'm
You're
a
thinking
fan
design
of the
build.
process anyways. I mean, I've seen it work well so many times before, but it allows us to, if we could get the okay to start filling the capacity, that's step one, while some of the design work is going on, and then the execution of the closure comes in. We're finishing the fill and they've already started the cap.
Right.
The engineering comes in. But there are offers out there now. One of them includes all of the tonnage, and the city's completely hands-off. No equipment, no manpower. That offer is to man it all. The price is a little low. And then there's some other waste companies that are interested in it. They have a processed construction demolition debris, so it's a lot more dense. They're very interested. Essentially, their offer on a per ton basis was much lower than the 40, which is not acceptable. So I've been working with them to try to show them the value in coming to Old Town and using this facility to bring the price back up. So it takes a big chunk out of our potential 25%.
Right. So you'd want something from the full council to push forward as far as going ahead with getting the supplies here and the design build, whether we're going to do that or design bid build, I'm assuming.
Yep.
But we need to have some numbers, what it's going to cost. I mean, I didn't see this, but we need to
Right.
get some numbers on what it would be for the design.
Yeah, and I think Dennis going through that recent design design build process on a very similar project, he'd be very helpful. I know, John, you have the experience in it firsthand. I mean, you know it, you've done it, you've been there. I've worked on design build projects, but for in a different arena, not the solid waste arena, but I know that, I think after I go back and talk to Dennis, we'll be able to get you guys some ideas in terms of, where this thing could go and what those costs are gonna be.
I wouldn't ask Travis to give an estimate from where he sits, but I feel more comfortable telling you that you could essentially look at 10 to 20% of the project is the engineering cost.
Oh, 10 to 20% of this? Okay,
That would be a reasonable estimate.
okay.
Well, yeah, we've provided estimates in here for the engineering and for the CQA, but in the percentage of that percentage to move forward, we'd have to think a little bit about that.
Right.
Sort of those next steps.
And of course, moving forward, we're taking a chance that it will not be supported by the DEP at the 75%. But realize that you heard the issue about the licensure. That's up in the air. We're gonna have to close it eventually, and we're gonna have to pay for it. And with the plans to construct the tipping ramp, we'll be diverting all that CDD that's going there now for the next 10 years, so we don't see the use for it. So again, it's, the stars have aligned, so to speak. There's a lot of things that are going on that are to our advantage.
Also in those figures, could we include, if $40 isn't realistic as to what we're gonna get, could we look at that figure and come up with something that's closer so that what we're getting is more accurate than $40?
I agree with the $40 number. The part of the negotiation is because it's sort of a guaranteed tonnage and a steady stream, that obviously folks are trying to negotiate a lower rate because they're guaranteeing the tonnage on a weekly basis, and there are pieces with it, as opposed to you open your doors for, you say 40 or 45 a ton, and you hope that it comes. You're getting the guarantee up front. So it could be more, I thought 30 to 35.
So could you combine two of those and get a guarantee and not worry about the guarantee, know you're gonna get enough?
Other than the logistics of how it gets handled, because understand, if we go one direction, the waste is gonna come in, but it doesn't pile itself, obviously, which means that we have to either contract that, which takes a big chunk out of that processing fee, or we have to try and devote the resource to it, that's kind of a hit or miss. So it's trying to find how much is that really gonna cost to process, as opposed to an offer that's all in. We don't touch it. We don't have to devote manpower resource, equipment resource, maintenance resource.
Right.
The cat material resource, a lot of that. So there's a lot of value in that as well.
And you could probably determine what that delta is.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
the difference is between, what that advantage is for the city to not have to spend that extra money, so that that whatever that dollar amount is coming in at, that may equate to $45 an hour on some of the numbers that we're providing. I mean, $45 a ton.
I know what you meant.
Yep.
There's resources that the city has as well in the pit. We're finding more clay, which is part of the process. But again, we gotta kinda know which direction we're moving in so we can preserve the resource. And
I think that's my question for everybody up here tonight. Do we want to continue heading down this path at least, or do we want to roll the dice and 10 years from now have to pay for it ourselves, basically? So I'd like to hear from everybody, because then it sounds like we need to put this on the next council meeting to get this rolling.
Sooner the better.
Right. So I'd ask everybody up here, what are your thoughts?
I think if we're gonna have to close it anyway, I think going down this direction to have the opportunity to get reimbursed at the state. I know from the last conversations, we'll get it paid back over time.
Right.
But we have the ability to get some low interest loans, or there was a way to pay for it up front, but.
Right. That's right. He did explain that there's some about loans or something.
Yeah,
that we can carry on or
the
something.
USDA offers loans, and the SRF, DEP, they offer low interest rate loans as well. So strings are attached, but it gives you the opportunity to have working capital, so to speak, to finance it, to basically pay for it. But
Right.
But I definitely would echo. I mean, it's an opportunity here. You also have ongoing monitoring costs, and by getting out early, you reduce the length of time that those monitoring costs you're saddled with,
Right.
at least under current regulation. So,
Right.
you can look at it that way too. So, 30 years down the road or whatever, you're chopping 10 years off now. So you're actually looking out for the future generations,
Yeah.
of the community too. So.
Carol?
I think it sounds like a plan. I would like to know a few more specifics, I
Yeah.
think.
I agree with EJ. Yeah.
You're on board. So I guess next council meeting, let's get some real numbers,
Sure.
whatever you can come up with, so we know what we're committing to.
Yeah.
That's the way we go, but it sounds like we're heading that direction for sure.
Okay.
I think it'd be a missed opportunity if we don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds good.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks for getting that easel.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
Bill, this doesn't impact our agreement with Pine Tree, did it?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So that revenue would still come to us. Okay.
Good question. Okay, the next item, Jefferson Street School. The committee will hear from Lori Miller of the Old Town Housing Authority regarding the Jefferson Street School building. Is Lori here? Yes, she is. And Ron Harriman also. Good evening.
I told Lori I would accompany her up here.
No coffee?
I'm just here tonight to let you know that the Housing Authority is still interested in working with the city to possibly redevelop the Jefferson Street School. I know you put it out to RFP in July. You didn't get any responses. Since then, I think Ron's shown a handful of people the property, but no real serious, people that had deep pockets to do this. Again, so I just wanted to reiterate, we're looking at maybe doing some affordable housing units in there. We're thinking we could probably get 20 to 24 units. That's just by, going by the square footage. There's a possibility of putting some market rate rents in there, but we wouldn't be able to get this tax credit financing for that portion. So if we could get 24 units and we said we're gonna put 4 market rate or 10 or whatever, that portion of the project we'd have to find funding for that somewhere else. So that,
Okay.
there's different possibilities. We can classify it as elderly disabled, we can make it unclassified, so, anybody could live there, could, be we're thinking 1 and 2 bedrooms are gonna be the best. There's historic preservation credits out there we can get, so there's really a lot of funding to make this project, so that it wouldn't be a lot of cost to it, and a lot of hard costs that we would have to pay back. It would be a tax-paying entity. We would be asking for a TIF. It would be 51% for 15 years. And that's just because that's how you get points. The tax credits, you get funded by point, you get a scoring criteria. And one of them is if you have a TIF in place.
So that by having a TIF, that will help you get the grant?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it
So-
would be 51% of the taxes over 15 years. And after the 15 years, that would be a 100% tax-paying entity.
Now, is that when you did 51 at 15, that's what it is to get the grant, or is that just the number?
That's to get the maximum points on that
Oh, that's to get
criteria
the
of
maximum.
the scoring.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
We'd have to, I'm just coming to you tonight because we would be working together, but we would need kind of a definite answer from the city if, yes, you want to go forward with this by the middle of January, so we could
Okay, middle of
start
January.
planning and getting all our approvals, and we'd have to have like a market study done and things like that. So
Right.
to develop the best application we can, we need that would give us 9 months. October is a deadline to have it
Okay.
in, so that would give us 9 months to work and get everything we need together.
Now, we discussed about for the winterizer, draining everything.
Yeah, the one of the concerns that and Lori came to the LLC meeting on
Oh, good.
Tuesday morning.
Good.
And I think this would be fair, and Joe Pluff's here, so he can certainly straighten me out if I'm not remembering this correctly. But their concern when this first started was the carrying costs of maintaining that with heat on. We've looked at it now. We're going to drain the building, secure it, and it looks like over the wintertime it cost us approximately $5,000 to get that all done. With that in hand, the LLC felt more comfortable with going through the process and giving the Housing Authority an opportunity to try to secure a grant. If we were going to heat it, then they were concerned about, what would be the cost of that and the potential for, if something happened, would there be water damage in the building?
Yeah, weren't we talking $40,000 or $50,000 to
Well,
keep it
with-
for the
if
winter?
we- you know, you start heating a 21,000 square foot building at 50 degrees, it's still
Right.
extremely expensive.
Right. What did the LLC say about the TIF and all that? Was that discussed also?
We didn't really get into the TIF for the LLC that much, but what I think was really helpful with the LLC was to have Lori explain just how she runs her units, and that sometimes subsidized units get a bad rap, and I think that she just kind of explained that very well and gave people a better understanding of which units are controlled by the housing authority and which ones aren't, and I think that the membership was a lot more comfortable after hearing from her on that. But we didn't specifically talk about the TIF.
So if I can just, there's a lot of misconception about affordable housing, and the Housing Authority does not control all the affordable housing in Old Town. We own Marsh Island Apartments on Main Street. We own Meadow Lane Apartments off Perkins Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And we own Anderson Lane Apartments, which is up off Pembroke Drive on the left. We are not Wim Station. We are not Lincoln Green. We are not the River House. We also manage Bickmore Manor downtown, Penobscot Terrace. Dow 3 and Dow 4 are on French Island, and Hillside Apartments in Bradley. I'm sure Chief O'Halloran can tell you there's very few calls to our properties involving the police. And when there are, we work with Kyle and the officer and take care of it. Chief O'Malley can probably tell you we do have ambulance calls, you know, because some of our population is elderly. But for the most part, nothing.
No issues.
No issues.
Good.
Okay.
Lori, don't you go around?
I do. I personally am on our properties every week. We drive the properties. We have maintenance. We have a maintenance staff of 5 who are right here in town. They're on the properties daily. You know, I make sure their yards are cleaned up. They get a letter from me. They knock on the door.
She instills fear.
No. But I mean, we take pride in our properties. You know, we don't want it to look like, you know. And even our landlords for our vouchers, you know, we're on them to keep their properties picked up and
Right.
and do those. We inspect all our units at least once a year. Family housing, we're in twice a year, just because they take a little more hand-holding sometimes, but. So
I think
just
it's
wanted it to
important.
be-
It's important that people know that the Housing Authority doesn't own all subsidized housing in Old
Right.
Town.
Right.
And that's really important to know, and I think some people think that you do, and your properties are always look, and are always maintained well, and always look good, yeah.
You know, and a lot of landlords rent their apartment and they're not in it again, you know, they
Yeah.
collect the check,
Mhm,
and
yeah.
if something big happens and they, you know, they'll go in and fix it, but
Mhm.
Right.
we are in our properties.
Yep. And they show it.
So-
As Laurie mentioned, that we did put out the RFP, and I got a little bit of interest, a few people kicking tires, and I actually showed it 3 times. And there wasn't a lot of, there was some pretty good interest, I think, when you just look at the outside, and it's really quite an imposing building. But once I got inside, they were a little bit overwhelmed at what it would take to renovate it into housing units. So I showed it to some folks that do assisted living, and I didn't get very far with them. And I've shown it to a couple of others that just, I think, didn't have maybe the resources. And Bill and I, along with Tim Folster, met with Lori and Tom McDonald, the person she works with, to assemble the application and package it all up. And it really is it's a lengthy process. There's a lot of ingredients, and it's really a big commitment by the Housing Authority to develop plans and to put this together and try to line up the investors, because as I understand it, it would actually be owned by private investors, at least for the initial term.
Because they get a tax break. That's where the money comes from, is they
Oh,
get a
okay.
tax break to invest in this. But they're really silent partners. It would be the Housing Authority who would be renting the apartments and keeping them up. And
Okay. Okay, so timeline is you need an answer from us by January at the latest. correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then something about October, it's due in,
It's due, the application would be due in October of 2015.
okay.
And if we didn't get funded at that point, there's other funding options, but you have to apply for this to get offered the other
up,
funding
right.
options.
I mean, I know for myself, my mindset hasn't changed. I'm all for it. And I haven't heard from anybody else on the council that is really,
You just want the bell.
what's that?
You just want the bell.
I just want the bell. That's right. So I guess we are missing 2 councils, so we should put it on an agenda. Maybe we can shoot for November, just to, if you need something official from us, is that what we need? So let's put it on the agenda for November then, and hopefully everybody's there and we can run with it.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you guys staying here to talk about the next one, the TIF? Or is that, who is that?
I'll stay.
Okay.
That's fine.
You can stay if you want.
No, thanks.
Turn the heat up a little bit for you guys.
No.
Turn the heat up for you.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
The proposal that I think you've all seen, I hope you've
Was it in the
received some
packet?
information, no? What's been suggested to the LLC, and we've talked about it at length with that group.
Well, there's efficiency main business incentive. It's not that.
Do you have an extra one of those?
Well,
It's, I mean, you could just
When you get
explain
them.
it, Ron, that's fine.
okay. I've got an updated one, so. What the proposal is to capture the value on a couple of recent large improvements. That would be the Main Savings Federal Credit Union and the Bear Brook Development Holding, which is the dam.
Yep.
And the TIF program, tax increment financing, would capture the new value or the incremental value, which in this case amounts to $1,965,400. These are my best estimates on the main savings, and about $6,895,000 on the dam, for a total TIF value that could be captured by the city of a little over $8.8 million. Now, for a community that has a tax rate of approximately 20 to 21, the community can expect to lose around 35% of every dollar to the adverse tax shifts by the state. Those include a decrease in revenue sharing, a decrease in school funding, and an increase in the county tax. So by capturing this value in a TIF program, we can keep all of that money right here in Old Town. The only stipulation is that the money that is captured has to be used for specific items or uses. And those are, for the most part, economic development related items. It can include such things as economic development services, revolving loan fund, paving, public safety, fire improvements. So there's quite a long list of eligible improvements. And Bill and I have talked about this at length, and we do want to make sure that there are sufficient uses for the money before we do this, and it appears that there certainly would be. You know, we're talking about some initiatives up on Stillwater Avenue, and all these things cost money. We're doing a downtown plan, and we want to be able to allocate these resources to any of those you know, recommendations that are priorities that come out of that plan. So the bottom line is there would be a significant amount that would remain in the general fund because we can't capture it all because we're beyond the time frame with some of the initial valuation. So there would still be over $3 million of combined value from those two projects that would remain in the general fund. And then there would be another $8.8 million that would, according to this proposal, that would go into a TIF program.
So 8.8 goes into the TIF.
Under this proposal, yes.
proposal.
Yeah.
Eric, have you seen any of this?
I haven't seen any of it, but it sounds pretty, that's how the program operates. The 8.8 million figure is value.
Value.
So it's
Right.
the actual tax revenues from that new value that would go into the development program.
All right.
It would avoid the loss of state revenues and county tax increases Ron has outlined. One strategy that you see in a number of municipalities, normally you cannot shift money from one TIF district to another, but there's an exception for downtown TIF districts. If you have a downtown TIF district and that captures 100% of the new value within the downtown area, and if you have other TIF districts in other parts of the city, you can transfer revenues from those other TIF districts to help fund the downtown program.
Okay.
More typical context is when somebody builds a big box store out at the mall, and the downtown owners are complaining about the competition, you can TIF the big box to help the downtown
To help.
marketing strategy.
Oh, okay.
Help promote those businesses. This would be another potential opportunity where you could capture that new value in its own TIF district, and perhaps if you also do a downtown TIF, you could
Transfer monies over.
those funds to help fund the downtown program.
Okay. That's good. It's good news. So what's the process from here? What do you?
Well, we
From us.
would need to have some legal assistance.
We have that right there.
And that's that's an option, and we also we'll I guess we would need to allocate. I would expect around $8,000 for
To
legal
get this
costs.
going.
That's a number I got. I too have worked on a lot of these, and I've worked with legal firms that would expect to charge about that amount of money.
Okay. So basically, you guys can get together and make sure that's the real number that you're looking for to get this going.
I didn't write fast enough, so I want to make sure that I understand this. We're going to take roughly $3 million that we tax normally, put into the general fund normally. Then we're going to take $8.8 million that we're not going to tax normally, that is going to come back to the city in a TIF revenue that we can't spend as general monies, that we have to spend towards TIF projects.
Yeah.
Or different spending that we'd normally spend tax money for.
It allocates it to it.
It
You're right.
allocates it to it.
Everything you said is exactly right. And what that does is those dollars are allocated specifically to those projects. So once you write that into your credit enhancement agreement, and you say that you're gonna spend that money on sidewalks or a facade program or whatever, that money's allocated to that every year. That's where it goes.
So it's less taxpayer money we're putting out towards it.
Into a segregated account.
Right. And it sounds like there would not actually be a credit enhancement agreement starting
No.
out on this.
Right.
It would be entirely for the city's purposes. You wouldn't be
Correct.
giving money back to a project owner or a property owner. All of the tax revenues would come into the city's TIF development program. And you're right, the statute does restrict what you can use that money for. There is a wide range of uses, but they're primarily related to economic development. One of the opportunities is to use that money to displace money you're already spending in the general fund for some of those same purposes. Often that's
Right.
an opportunity.
Right.
If you're paying an outside consultant for, or paying Ron to promote economic development, that can come out of the TIF program instead of out of the general fund.
So if we're spending $100,000 a year on paving, we could take
If
TIF
it's
monies to spend that on
For
$100,000?
paving, if it's within the TIF district, yeah, there are a couple tiers of costs. Paving would be a capital cost, that has to be within the TIF district.
And we should be able to draw that district so that it's not confined just to Stillwater Avenue. I feel reasonably confident we could draw those lines to include streets within the downtown.
Okay.
So these are streets that you would be paying for out of the general budget with money that you're, in essence, receiving 65% of every dollar So instead, you'd be paying for it with 100% dollars.
For $8 million of value, you'd have $160,000 a year in revenues in round numbers with the TIF. Without the TIF, you'd have 65% of that, as Ron says. So
Okay.
you'd lose back whatever that 50,000 or so under the funding formulas. And that's the primary advantage to municipalities, is that you have more money to spend for these purposes.
So the savings that I would project over the 30-year term of the TIF, 30 years is the maximum term, would be $1,880,000, and that works out to $62,000 a year in savings.
It's still taxed, just like any other property in the city, and the property owner still has to pay that tax bill. And it's not reduced at all, and in particular, there's no credit enhancement agreement, they're not getting any part of that back. So the mill rate doesn't change. It's the use of the money that changes, and because
Just-
the use of the
right.
money is restricted by the TIF statute, the state does not count that additional value for funding formula purposes, or for county tax. And just some long ago history, when the statute was enacted, one reason was that if the city of Old Town spent taxpayer dollars to encourage business development, you would get punished by the state for doing that, because you would increase your valuation, so you would get less state funding, and you'd pay more taxes. And the TIF statute essentially removes that penalty.
Is it possible to see a spreadsheet of all this? Because I'm a visual learner.
One has to be prepared. If you do a TIF district, you have to project the revenues and the so-called tax shift, which is the savings that you would achieve under the funding formulas in the county tax. That's a required part of the TIF development program.
It's a lengthy document, and it would be due by mid-March of next year.
You know, if you go past April 1st, you have another years of new value that you can't capture as part of the district.
Gotcha. So you could get something to us, some kind of a Excel sheet or something
Sure.
that, just so we can see it. I'm writing a lot of numbers down here. Well, that's good. Yeah, if you can get us something and we can bring it to the council, because I know it sounds like you want to get an answer to roll with this.
Well, it does take several months to prepare
Right.
the program, so I think if you want to go forward, the sooner the better.
Okay. Right.
I would jump in and say that for one like this, where there's no credit enhancement agreement, most of the work is consulting work. It's not anything that an attorney has to do. So my role would be very small on a TIF of this type.
Okay.
I think it'd be well within that $8,000 figure that Ron mentioned. I have a larger role in TIFs when you're negotiating with a property owner over a credit enhancement agreement, and you have all of that discussion.
Okay.
So those are legal documents.
So basically, I can just wipe out that 8,000, you're gonna just consult then, okay. Perfect. Guys, thank you very much. It's, yeah, if we can get us some hard numbers and stuff, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Okay, that is the last item on this agenda, so I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dan, is there a second? Second is EJ. Discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? We good just to keep moving right on? Okay. I call the October 16, 2014 special council meeting to order. Flag salute. EJ, if you could start us with that, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, there are no minutes. Petitions, communications, citizens' requests. At this time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come forward, state your name and address. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Just a couple quick things. We got a letter from the family of Charlene Burns thanking us for the flowers that we'd sent to it's Alan Storman's mother to the funeral. We also got a letter from the American Legion Post 75 location thanking the council, which I'm assuming this is more of the Public Works for the quick response, repairing the sidewalk out in front of the American Legion Post 75 location. As stated in my previous letter, I know funds are tight for most city governments. Again, on behalf of all the members of the American Legion Post 75, we'd like to thank you for your swift action, and will not be forgotten. Robert Ottman. So I just want to pass that along. And that's all I have. I did send you guys, we got to do Bill's eval next month. So I sent that on to you guys, if I can get that back. So we want to put that on the regular agenda on that night. If we can, I'll see if I get everybody's back. We'll do executive session that night. That is all I have. Standing committees. City councilors.
I have something.
Lori.
Just letting you guys know that the transitional team meeting for Old Town Fuel and Fiber is meeting tomorrow at the Hollywood Slots at 10. There's also another meeting on November 5th up at the Elks, and then on November 13th they're having a spaghetti supper at the Elks for the mill workers.
And they did have, the mill, was that yesterday or today that they had the?
They didn't have that.
They didn't have it, okay.
With that suit that was filed that we discussed at the last meeting, there was a stay put on that. So until that's decided, there's no sale.
Okay. Okay. Any other councilors? City attorney.
We did file a response to the canceling suit. Otherwise, I owe Bill a couple projects. Things are quiet.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Special committees, school board liaison, city manager.
I had the first downtown master plan meeting this week. Looks like the first public meeting that we'll have on that will be November 17th at the library. And we're going to try to do direct mailings to everybody that's in the downtown businesses and residential properties. And obviously advertise it besides that, but the people that are going to be impacted directly in that area are going to direct mail them. So.
Okay, that's good.
And attended the second milestone meeting on the Juniper Ridge landfill today. And we had a couple of committee members, Ralph Leonard, Peter Dufour, attended that. Ed Spencer was there from the public. Again, those are just going through the process with Casella on their proposed permit application. DEP members are there also, just walking through that, each step of that for any questions before they even put the application in. So that's it for me.
Bill, I told Bill, we got an email, I should have brought this up during my time, we got an email about attending the Penobscot, is it the River House?
Yes.
Yeah, we all got an email on that. I think it's next Wednesday.
Yeah, and it came in the mail too, I
Came in the
think.
mail, okay.
Yeah.
I told Bill that him and I are probably gonna go. I don't know if anybody else
Yeah,
can attend.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's next Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
2 to
2 to 4, okay.
Yes.
Any questions for Bill? Okay, thank you, sir. Consent agenda, there is none. Public hearings and second reading of ordinances. City Council will conduct a second reading for final approval on a proposal to add medical marijuana registered dispensaries and medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance and amend sections 102 definitions, Exhibit 1, number 1, 104.11 off-street parking, 20, paragraph 20, Exhibit number 2, and 111.6 highway commercial, paragraph 5 and 3, Exhibit number 3, pertaining to the same. Open the public hearing. Bill's anyone talking on this on our end?
Dave's not here tonight. I don't know if there's any specific questions you guys had
No.
from what did he
Patty, nothing?
presented last time.
We covered that very well in committee.
Okay, is anyone that would like to speak about this? I'll close the public hearing. The City Council will consider final approval on a proposal to add medical marijuana registered dispensaries and medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance. Councilor May.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves a proposal to add medical marijuana registered dispensaries and medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance and amend sections 102 definitions, Exhibit 1, 104.11 off-street parking, 20, Exhibit number 2, and 111.6 highway commercial, 5.3, Exhibit number 3 pertaining to the same.
Is there a second?
Second.
EJ, discussion. This is a roll call vote.
Counselor Peterson?
Yes.
Counselor Roach?
Yes.
Counselor Smart?
Yes.
Counselor May?
Yes.
And Counselor Mahan?
Yes. Okay, moving right along, there is no old business, new business. Item number 1, City Council consider accepting the term and conditions of a grant rebate from Efficiency Maine in the amount not to exceed $2,000 to replace the heat pumps at the animal orphanage. Councilor Roach, please.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the terms and conditions for a grant rebate from Efficiency Maine in an amount not to exceed $2,000 to replace the heat pump at the animal orphanage.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Carol, discussion? Lori?
I'd like to abstain from this because I am on the board.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it replacement or a new one?
They're new.
The new.
So this is to replace the heat pump.
No, this is
No,
It's to
It's to purchase a new one.
do a heat pump or
Right.
whatever, and not
Okay.
replace.
Install.
Right,
Install.
There we
There
go.
we go.
There we go. Install. There we go.
It's installed. We get this money back for installing the heat pump.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so Lori abstained, so no discussion. All those in favor?
With a corrected motion.
Yes.
Mhm.
4-0, 1 abstention. Okay. Item number 2, the City Council will consider approving the purchase of a new beacon for the airport. The city will be reimbursed 95% from the FAA. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the purchase of a new beacon in the amount of $90,637 for the municipal airport. Funds to be transferred from Airport Hangar Reserve Account 03560 to account 1300-0414 other capital outlay.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Engineering for that is $42,047. Construction's $48,590.
Thank you. No other discussions or any questions for Bill or John or anybody on this? Or, I'm sorry, Lance, on this? And you're all set with this, Lance?
Yes.
Okay. And we're getting back reimbursed 95%.
Correct.
Okay.
And our beacon won't lean anymore.
Okay, no other discussion. All those in favor? None opposed. 5-0. The last item on the agenda, the City Council consider transferring funds from fund balance for the purchase of new camera-operated traffic lights on Stillwater Avenue. Councilor Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves transferring $22,600 from fund balance account number 03800 to account number 7200-0380 traffic lights for the purchase of new camera-operated traffic lights on Stillwater Avenue.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Lori, discussion. I know Bill and I get phone calls about this almost daily. So when would this start, Bill? When would they start doing this?
They've already, they're ready to roll on it, so they've got all the materials and they're moving forward.
And I know you and David tried to get them to pay for this because it was left out of the project, but that's not going to happen.
So where are they going to be? Right at where the camera's going to be?
Let's see.
This is for Hannaford and at
Yeah, you got 7
McDonald's,
cameras,
right?
So you're gonna pick up 2 of these at the College Ave, 2 at the elementary school, and 3 at the shopping center entrance. Plus, they're putting in a new, it's a microwave detection. It's a little mini tower down at the K-5 school, another eye there so they can follow the traffic better.
Are there cameras downtown, down here?
Yes.
There are?
On these ones there are?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I don't see that, I don't know. I'm wondering what a difference it's going to make. I know I'm odd man out here, but I just don't understand. Because,
I don't, without being involved in this intersection of these lights, I have no idea if they were put in correctly or if they have enough detection.
yeah, because here, I mean, you can sit a long time with no traffic coming.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a traffic light expert right here.
Well, I can speak to the downtown area because Bax recently funded a traffic study. Actually went back to Milford to the Call Road
Yeah.
and through. The Sewell Company did the survey and did the recommendation, and quite honestly, it's a lane, limited lane count is the biggest problem. The signal timing only made a marginal, only a matter of seconds in the traffic through patterns at 2 times a day, obviously the morning and the evening. So the downtown traffic issue is usually, around 7:20 in the morning till 8:30, and then at the end of the day, there's really not a lot that can be done other than increasing lanes, which that's probably not going to happen.
So I'm curious, did same traffic issues exist in the same times on Stillwater Avenue?
Well, you've got a longer queue as well. You've got some time to spread them out from the other 3 signals. As it is now, the timing reverts. The signals revert back to timing, and it's not based on detection. So it doesn't necessarily solve the problem of the heavy traffic in the mornings or the evenings. It's, if you're there at 9 o'clock at night, you're waiting 4 minutes.
Sitting there for 3 minutes waiting, basically.
Okay,
Right.
so, good, then I do get it, because it's not going to really help when it's really, really busy.
During the busy time.
No, I think the
Just don't
stuff
want to
at
be
the
sitting there
school.
waiting, but you can downtown still.
Yeah, exactly. You're still going to wait. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. You will wait, and there will be a little bit of an improvement by the school with the timing and the turning, with the camera detection. But you're
wish
not
we
going
could do a
to. There's
test.
no great gain in traffic through volume at those peak times.
Any other questions for John? No? Anybody? No? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor? 2, 3, 4. All opposed? 4 to 1. Motion passes. Okay, that is the last item, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Lori, Stan, discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.